Hi, and welcome to the National Authors Day event. What you will see following my message is conversation that was happening during the event on Zoom Live. We can only do virtual because of COVID-19. We hope to change that for 2021. The date of that event will be November 6th. It always falls on the first Saturday of November. So we hope to see you then. We are considering doing a squirrel / discovery / book event. So we're looking more into doing that in different cities. So we are looking for hosts or hostesses or event planners that want to work with us to create a discovery trail, walking trail, where people can learn about books from various artists in the local regions, whatever we can create and have fun with. But in the meantime, we hope you will watch the following videos. It's approximately an hour and 15, hour, 20 minutes long. It talks with a lot of different authors from around the world, Canada, United States, of course, and just people expressing different points of view, thoughts, asking questions about publishing, writing, all that fun stuff. So thank you again for participating, and we look forward to seeing you as an author or as a reader in November 6, 2021. Take care.
Hello.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
I wasn't sure because I do the video came in with my phone and dialed in, so this is just a new way for me.
Got it. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out new technology today myself. I'm trying to live stream. And I was actually thinking, I know, I'm like, oh, but yeah, I'm crazy that way. I was thinking to live stream on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, but I think I'm only going to have to choose one.
Yeah, because I saw the little note that said that you were live, so at least it's indicating you're live on another site.
Yeah. So, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm at work, so I am just kind of listening while I'm at my desk. Hopefully I'll be able to hear the whole interview. But I'm friends with Doc. Doc and I met online, and we're both authoring. He's authoring just in a different venue than I am. I'm doing children's books, but he's awesome. He's so awesome.
I know. Really, truly. I agree.
How did you meet?
So actually, I'm an author as well, and we are both published through Kohler Books. So that's how we met.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I started reading, but haven't finished it yet. So.
You started reading There and Back Again?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten yours. I'm interested to hear more about yours.
Mine's inspired by combat wounded veterans, so that's where the link is. And so
Okay.
I think, yeah, if you have, it sounds like you have a ton of respect for Doc, as I do as well. You might be interested in Goodbye Orchid.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Yeah. Congratulations on your publishing.
Oh, thanks. I want to hear about yours too. Do you have
little children's books? Yeah, mine are children's books, and I haven't sent any off to the publisher yet because I'm doing author and illustrator, so I'm trying to get some stuff done before I send my first one, because with picture books they often ask for more than one. So I'm trying to have everything kind of set before I send my first one. So if they need a follow-up, I have it ready.
That is so smart. It's true. They do want the sets.
Yeah, and there's one particular book that I'm writing about. It's about a female robot, and so it's like a standalone, but it's a series of books about her. So it's super cute. So I'm just trying to get some of that stuff done.
That does sound really cute. It sounds like kind of girl empowerment, just what I'm picturing.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, yep. Yeah, it's the books aren't just for little girls, but I own an apparel company called Girl Power Apparel, and so I think that she's probably inspired by some of that along the same lines of kind of what my company is about, my apparel company, and empowering females to just believe they are as great as they are, and to kind of just get over certain barriers. And the little robot is she's for everybody, but she's pretty awesome, so she's cool.
That is amazing. And I, hear this really strong theme then between your apparel and then also the writing. And I'm wondering, have you thought about or tried product placement in your book? Like, does the apparel and that brand play a role? And can
So, it's so funny. So not yet. I mean, I've had my apparel company for a couple years, and it's just kind of sitting there. It needs some rebirthing. But I've created a robot toy. I actually created an action figure. So I have kind of that attached to the book more than the clothing. But inside the book, there's I'm setting it up for other products. So some of the kids, so she boss in class one day, and the kids that she's friends with have a she bought lunchbox, and I'm just plugging in little things into the book for possible future merchandise later.
Yeah, really smart. That sounds amazing. We'll have to stay connected. I love creative people.
Yeah. Well, I'm a detective full time, so that's my full time job. So I'm working today. I'm a crime scene investigator out in Connecticut, so that's what I do full time.
That is incredible. Everything you tell me just gets more and more incredible. I actually just jotted down a little note to invite you to a group that's called Superheroes Unleashed, which is full of creatives, all different kinds.
Oh, that's
visual,
awesome.
Writers, actors,
really,
that's
so cool.
Yeah, it's quirky and it's fun and it's
I love it.
Yeah, it's just totally free and it's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that sounds like it's right up my alley. I'm such a I am a scientist, but I am total free spirit, and so the two completely clash. But it's just who I am. So,
like you said, embrace it all. That's where the power comes from.
Yeah.
I think we are all.
Yeah, not enough hours in the day.
I relate to a lot of that.
That's
Hey,
so cool.
Jody.
Where do you live?
I'm in New Jersey. How about you? Where are you calling from?
Connecticut.
Oh, okay. We're not far from each other.
Yep. So, no, we're not.
Hello, my friend Jody.
Hey, Carol. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I was just chatting with Bridget, whom I've just met, and she is amazing. She's a detective and an author and has an apparel line and is full of creativity, coming up with ideas for toys and merchandise and all kinds of stuff.
That's great.
Hi, Jody.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, you too. I'm excited for today.
Jody and I are long. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I was just going to introduce and share how Jody and I know each other. We are longtime friends from work. I want to say maybe counting our time in decades rather than years.
Definitely.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible to me how time goes.
No doubt.
Like an old-fashioned ring.
I know. What is that?
I think we're just getting swept into a time warp.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
What year are we in? Okay. So at about 1:15, I had logged in, and then I saw the meeting was running, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Did I leave it open when I did my test earlier? So I ended it and I restarted it, but then I thought, what if some people were already in there and waiting, and I ended it for them. So I hope I didn't lose anybody.
No, they would figure it out. They would figure it out and then just re-sign on.
Hopefully that's the case. So I didn't kick you out, right, Bridget? You weren't on already?
No, well, I had gotten on, but I don't think I was set up on my side. I think I was still trying to figure out because I dialed in as opposed to like my normal video. So because I'm on my cell phone just in case I have to leave. So, but no, I mean I got on no problem.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so you should be fine.
Awesome. Jody, I was saying that I'm trying new technology today. I'm streaming live simultaneously on Facebook.
Oh, very brave, Carol. I'm sure it'll be great. Just think of all the things you're going to know how to do.
I know. I signed up for StreamYard today, but I couldn't get that fully figured out. So this is the way we're going. Hello, man of the hour. Are you calling from the car in Detroit?
I am, yes. My buddy and I were going to present a $1,000 sports scholarship.
Nice. So you're going to be on the move during our discussion today.
Yes, I'm always on the move, but
And tell me you're not driving yourself, please.
no, I'm not. As you can see, I'm not driving.
Hello. Yeah, okay, good. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, because that's against the law. That's against the law.
You've got a detective on the phone here.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, I don't want to make her mad.
No, you don't.
Uh,
Oh, that's funny.
Hey, it looks like Bambi just called in. Nice. I see Quentin, and then I don't know who Luminate is. Feel free to unmute and introduce yourself. And Quentin as well. And then I'll definitely want to say hello to Bambi. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Carol?
Great. So glad you could join us. Bambi just wrote the most amazing review for Goodbye Orchid.
Oh,
I think I needed tissues just to read the review.
Oh, it's amazing. The book.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so touching. You put so much thought and time into that, I could tell. It's just, it was a story in and of itself. What's that, Bambi? Go ahead.
Sure.
Say
It was my
more.
pleasure. I enjoyed the book so
Oh,
much.
thank you. Yeah, Bambi called it one of her top 5 of the year, and she
Thank
reads a lot.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Hey, David.
Hello,
Where are you calling in from, David?
I'm California.
Okay, got it. San Diego, where Doc is from?
Yes.
Awesome. So while people are calling in, let's go ahead and get it kicked off with, how we're going to spend our time today. And just first of all, just a huge thank you to all of you for being here. I'm so excited to hang out over this next hour plus. And we actually have a couple of parts to this fun time together that we're going to have. We are both going to have time with Doc and I to talk about our books and how we know each other and what the thread is that, the theme that keeps us threaded together, why our books actually make sense to talk about together. And then there's actually a second part to the event, which is that Ronnie Denholtz, and maybe she's on here as Luminator, one of these muted calls, is actually going to talk about her paranormal series, which is called The Lightning Strike. So that's the second half of the event. And so first of all, before we even get into all of this, I just have to give a huge thanks because this whole thing has been sponsored by a group, Alan Bourgeois heads up the Authors Marketing Guild. And he has set this up to really celebrate National Author Day, which was last weekend. And as part of that, he's giving all of you a chance to win a $50 gift card. All you have to do is put in the chat your email address, and then you'll be signed up for the authors' email lists that are on the call today, the 3 authors I talked about, although there are authors in the audience as well, I know. And then you'll have a chance to win this $50 gift card. So feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat to sign up. And then so that you probably can already see from the live on Facebook and the recording sign that this is being recorded because we want to be able to catch anyone who wanted to be part of it but weren't able to join live so that you are all going to be famous. So
Yeah.
let's, welcome, our guests. I actually am so honored and so thrilled to be able to be here with Doc Jacobs. I cannot even begin to pay homage to all the things that he's accomplished in his, decades on Earth here. A Bronze Star of Valor, veteran, Purple Heart decorated combat wounded veteran, and now he's an author. He's written his memoir, There and Back Again. And he runs the Doc Jacobs Foundation, which we're going to get to talk about in a little bit, because I have some questions for you, Doc, including about the foundation. And then on top of all of that, which it's impressive enough just that in and of itself, but on top of all of that, last year, Doc donated a kidney to save a life. And I just think his halo cannot be any bigger above his angelic head right there. So I would love to kick off by asking some questions of Doc and his background, and have him give a chance to really talk about his life, which is what he's documented in his memoir. And then after that, I'm going to have a chance to share a bit about Goodbye Orchid and the way that it was inspired by combat wounded veterans, which is our link here. And then we'll love to take questions from all of you. So, Doc, if it's okay for me to start right in with some questions for you.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
So in your memoir, you actually talk about a couple of influences in your life. You talk about your Uncle Tim. You talk about your grandfather, who was in World War II and was a Bronze Star of Valor decorated veteran as well. And I'm wondering if you could share a bit of how those familial experiences and those conversations shaped, and especially shaped your early dreams that led you to pursue an incredible career in the military.
So that's a great question, and one that I take a lot of pride in is my military family. Like you said, my great-grandfather was one of the very first Army Rangers, which was called the Darby's Rangers back in World War II. And he wasn't involved in D-Day. He was First Ranger Battalion, and they went in through North Africa, then on into Italy, and up into all of Europe from there. And he really inspired me because he was wounded in action and temporarily missing in action and personally dead. And then he just stayed, and he just went to the next, Ranger unit that he could find, and then just stayed in country and fought out the rest of the war until it was over. And then he came home and just lived life almost like nothing happened. And then my Uncle Tim, he was a foreman of 8 years and served with the Marines as well. And so he told me a lot of stories about that, and the inspiration of being able to save lives, which really inspired me, because I've always been on the caregiving side, I guess. I had, not too many people know this, but I had a cousin who had a very rare brain disease. He lived a normal life until he was 2 years old, and then brain disease hold of him and reversed his whole progress of his brain until he eventually passed when he was 11, 12 years old. And so I was around that my whole life. And then when I became a teenager, my grandfather had esophageal cancer. And I took my junior year off of high school to take care of him and as his end of life care. And so those sorts of things really inspired me and made me go in the whole caregiving aspect of it all, which is why I wanted to get into life-saving and preventive medicine. So those were the huge influences of my life of the military career, especially the medical aspect. So yeah.
Those caregiving examples are incredible, Doc. I'm going to ask, while I'm forming this next question, to see if there's anything you can do around your volume. It's not that clear. You sound a little far away. You're a little bit faint. So I'm going to see if you can improve your audio.
I'll try and
And then, yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's a little better. Thank you. So this caregiving.
I'll just cut when I talk.
I mean, this caregiving theme is definitely coming through, and it leads me to one of the other areas I'm curious about is, if I understand correctly, your role when you first enlisted was as a combat medic. Maybe I don't have the terminology right, but if you don't mind, for the ignorant like me, can you describe a little what was your actual responsibility? And also, if you could just add on to that, like, given that responsibility, how were you able to tell your family that it wasn't as dangerous as it really was?
So I knew going in, especially during the wartime. So I joined in August of 2004, and I had Fleet Marine Force guaranteed in my contract. So I knew I was going into the green side, is what we call it, Navy Corpsman, or blue or green. So you're either Navy or you're Marine Corps side. And so I knew I was going green side. And as Lee Halls knows about FMF Corpsman, we are combat trauma specialists, and our whole aura is to take care of not only just Marines, but our fellow corpsmen. And in garrison, we take care of their dependents as well, the retirees, the dependents, and also when we are in other countries, we take care of all the civilians and their military forces as well. So our whole, my one and main only job going in was combat trauma specialist, and I went to combat trauma management, and then I later got into other jobs such as preventive medicine after. So, but as foreman, we're pretty multifaceted, but mostly my whole mission was combat trauma.
It's truly incredible, like the work you did, and then even after being injured yourself, going back into active duty for 6.5 years, like just, such incredible stories that you have to share in the memoir. And of course, we're only going to be able to touch on a little bit, and that's why everybody here needs to buy Back There and Back Again to get the full scoop. But one of the things I'm intrigued by that as you were describing, not in this question, but in the first question, when you're describing your uncle and your great-grandfather's experiences, one of the things you said was when they came back, it was almost as if nothing had happened. And so I wonder if you can get us deeper into the psyche there. Was that your experience as well? And what does that mean? I guess as a civilian, I have only, I don't have the depth of insight that you have, and wondering if you could expound upon that.
So that's a great question, especially when I have to think about it, comparing, like my great-grandfather, yeah, he had some injuries, but his weren't as physical as mine, with missing a leg below the knee, missing partial fingers, missing parts of my right foot, which is considered a limb salvage. And so and this is kind of I guess a segue into Goodbye Orchid with the whole amputee stuff. Is I cannot escape the physical views of my injuries, and so it's a little less easy for someone like me to just transition as easily and just think that nothing happened, because I have visual reminders of what happened, and so it's a little bit harder to escape that and just jump back into society. But the psyche of it is, well, being a combat trauma specialist and seeing as much damage as I've seen, it's hard to escape that too. But I want to say that's why I'm always so busy, is because I just stay busy and I just keep the thoughts away. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, when you use the phrase jump back into society, I feel like that can encapsulate so much of you and your life, and all the incredible things you do. One of the areas I'm really interested in, because I was thinking about, how you were formed at this very early age by your Uncle Tim and your great-grandfather, and this like familial line of military heroes, really. But you also had such a love of baseball. And so I'm curious whether you ever had that point in your life where you were thinking of not pursuing a military career and thought you might do something different.
Yeah, baseball has always been a love of mine. I ever since I was like 5 years old, I went and watched the Cleveland Indians for the first time at Old Cleveland Municipal Stadium, and I was just so enamored by the whole game and just everything about it. And so my whole childhood and teenage years, I built my life around baseball. And I would just sit there and read the newspaper and read statistics on, if I couldn't watch a game, I was buying a newspaper and reading who hit what and what game. And it didn't matter what team was playing. It could be the most boring team between the Seattle Mariners and the Minnesota Twins. And I was still just like glued to the TV with every pitch and every, inning. But there was a time where I thought about not going in the military and playing college baseball and giving my hand, and then if I didn't make it, then going in as an officer. But it was the height of the Operation Iraqi Freedom, and I didn't want to miss my chance to fully serve to the best of my ability. So that's why I chose that route when I did it.
That's amazing. And I'd say you have more than fully served. I think everyone on this call would, send you great respect for the way in which you have more than served. So this love of sports actually ties in with Doc Jacobs Foundation. So do you want to talk a little bit about, the way in which you're giving back to military families and their children?
Yeah, so the whole transition for me, well, going back to when I was a kid and growing up, I was a military brat. My dad was a Navy man of 8 years, 20 years. And I did 8 years. That's why the 8 years came into play there. But living on that fixed income and being told, oh, well, we don't have enough money for you to go play in this week-long tournament at this place. And I was the starting third baseman. So I was the leadoff hitter, and that just like destroyed me. But then when I was doing my tryout for the Dodgers and doing all the training and driving around Southern California and buying all this equipment, it was extremely costly. And my daughter was getting ready to come into the world, and I felt like I was taking away from her future to pursue mine. And it just didn't seem fair. And so then while I was waiting around call from the Dodgers, which I was hoping for a call. And then I did get a call, but that was for something else. But they with the Tigers, and so I'm traveling all over the country, and I'm paying all this money on my medical retirement, which is living in Southern California isn't that much. And so I started asking some military and veteran friends about the cost of sports for their youth. And I came upon this idea that I should just start this foundation and just fund the sports, as much sports as I can, for the youth of our nation's heroes. So that way, that's financial relief on the veteran and the spouse or the legal guardian, whoever. And then that way, that will free up mind space for them to do their job and continue being the heroes that they are for our country. But also, so the kid can continue playing sports or get involved in sports that otherwise wouldn't be available. So to date, we've funded, in less than 3 years of being a 501c3, we've funded $17,000 in scholarships. And I'm on my way to go present another $1,000 to a hockey player of a combat wounded Marine. So it's just really, really awesome that I have this ability. And so when people ask me, oh, are you mad that you didn't get signed by Major League Baseball? I say, no, I'm not mad, because this opportunity might give somebody else a chance at an Olympic dream or a sports scholarship with a university, and they can go be higher educated, or someone might get involved in like the WNBA and whatever the case may be. And I think that that's more important than me making a couple $1 million, and which I would just start a foundation anyways. But I think that this has been the path that I've been led down, and I think it's a great one, and I'm just really, really blessed to be on this path. That's all I can really say.
It's awesome to hear firsthand, how you think about that work and the difference it makes in lives. I have a few more questions, but I'm going to go ahead and ask everybody if you have questions for Doc. You're also going to have a chance to ask questions of me. Put them in the chat, or feel free to unmute and go ahead and ask. But I'm going to actually turn it next to Doc's memoir, There and Back Again. Because one of the things I read, Doc, in your book is that your brother, the troublemaker brother, actually loved reading as a kid. So he'd be on the top bunk of his bed and reading to try to stay out of trouble and try to blame you for all of his problems.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about you as a kid. Did you also love reading? And what led you to decide to write this memoir?
So for me, growing up as a kid, I didn't really like reading. I was the very athletic one, and I used to just go for runs, just to go run and hike. And I played baseball, I did cross country, I did track. So I did all kinds of different things, but for reading, it just didn't really intrigue me. There was certain series that I really loved. I read all the Goosebumps. I loved Tom Clancy. I thought that those were cool, but that was mostly because he was doing like cool spy CIA stuff. But for the most part, I didn't really like reading, and it actually changed when I got out of the military and I started getting involved with school, and then I started to read a lot more. But for me, I just wanted to write my story as it was kind of going on, as kind of like a live journal, I guess. And I honestly didn't have plans of getting it published because I thought that I was going to get a lot of flack for how I initially wrote it, but then I took out a lot of names and just used generic names and ranks, so that way nobody's careers or livelihoods would get injured by my and sharing my story. So I eventually changed over time, but I don't know. I just kind of wanted it as a thing for my family to like later on read and understand what I was going through. So, and for those that don't know, there's not any combat stories in there because I just didn't want to do that. And I'll give you guys a spoiler alert that those stories will come out later in the book that my whole platoon and I agreed upon writing as a platoon. So I'll be co-authoring that in the future.
Sounds like an exciting new project. So the people on the call today, maybe there's a mix of people who've read the memoir or haven't read or haven't bought yet. What would you say to them is what they'll get out of it? If they read There and Back Again, what benefit or what will they get out of reading the book?
I would say the great benefit of reading the book is understanding the ins and outs of the life of a combat wounded veteran inside on active duty. I know everybody's story is different, but the general theme is there that we're treated different, and even afterwards getting out in the transition. So the biggest thing is, I would say, is the transition of understanding and coming to terms with what happened overseas in a combat zone or any trauma, and understanding that it can take a while, but also the transition of getting out and trying to find purpose again, because that was one of the biggest things that I was going through as I was getting out, was questioning myself and doubting the decision of getting out, which I don't regret now. So I think that was one of the biggest things. But so the biggest things are the ins and outs of active duty life as a combat wounded veteran, the transition, and the PTSD aspect of it all.
It's truly incredible. I think we may have had some people join that weren't here when we first said hello. So feel free to go ahead and put your email address in the chat to be able to have a chance to win $50. But also, if you didn't have a chance to introduce yourself, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat or just unmute and go ahead and let us know where you're from, how you're connected to Doc, myself, or Ronnie, who's the third author who's going to speak in a little bit. And feel free to ask any questions. I see that Jody has asked a question. Do you want to unmute and ask it yourself, Jody?
Oh, I'm sorry, Carol. I don't think that was me.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Whoever asked a question.
Question though.
I do not have my reading glasses, so I'm not sure I got all of this. It says my tag. What's that?
It was me.
Oh, go ahead. Hey.
Oh, okay. I have a question, Doc. My dad was a World War II Army vet, and my father-in-law was a World War II Navy vet. And they had this, they kidded around a lot about, you know, who was better, the Army or the Navy. I was curious, is there still some kind of little rivalry competition between the different branches of the military? And by the way, I interviewed the illustrator of the Goosebumps books because he lives in my town. He's a real nice guy. He'd be glad that you were reading those books.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that he's a nice guy. And yeah, the Goosebumps series was pretty awesome. I really love the I still remember this, the interactive ones where you could choose an ending, and then you flip around the pages, and then you could to see like what ending was what, and then you go back and you go back and do a different ending. I really thought that was interesting. But yeah, oh yeah, there's still a lot of rivalry between the different branches, especially Navy Marines, Marines Army, Navy Army. There's all kinds of the rivalries there, and it's kind of fun because we still harass each other in a vehicle with a Marine right now, so it's pretty fun. But yeah, there's all kinds of different rivalries there, and even the Army Navy game still to this day is pretty big. And I saw that they're going to have that at West Point this year, which is, I think, or something that the game's been at West Point. So I think that's pretty awesome. But yeah, to get back to that, yes, there's still a lot of rivalry.
Okay, thank you.
We have hellos coming in, so feel free to keep sending in the hellos and introduce yourselves and ask questions. We had Beth, who's a friend of mine from actually middle school. We go way back. And then also Quentin chimed in and said that he coached you during the sitting team Paralympics.
Yes. So Coach Q was he was my coach for the sitting volleyball, Paralympic sitting volleyball team. And you talk about loyalty. I left the sitting team when they let him go as a coach because I didn't believe on how they let him go, and I walked with him because I believe that he was a great coach and a great leader. And even when I was finishing my bachelor's, I took a coaching leadership course, and the whole time I talked with him, and I was like, man, you could teach for this class. He's a great guy. I love Coach Q, and I still owe him coffee when I get out to Phoenix.
Nice. Great to have so many wonderful friends on the call here. Well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but if you guys think of questions, feel free to keep them coming. Totally fine. And great to hear Beth is saying that she read Goodbye Orchid, and now she's looking forward to reading Doc's memoir. Thank you for your service, which is lovely.
So can I do an announcement on the call?
Of course, yeah.
So I talked with Kohler Books, and there will be a special Veterans Day ebook deal. So look out for that on Amazon and I believe Barnes & Noble. I don't know the price, but we're going to do a special one-day Veterans Day deal. And look out for news on some entries on ways to win a free signed hardcover copy of They're Back Again. And then I am also working with Carol and getting some Goodbye Orchid paperback books out as well. So just stay tuned and watch out for those great promotional things that we have coming your way.
Yeah, those are great announcements, and I mean, I think it's such an amazing gift as well. You know, buy a copy for yourself, but also I think there's a lot of truth and authenticity on those pages. Okay, so feel free to keep questions coming, but we're going to switch gears a little bit to Goodbye Orchid and introduce you to the book, because not everyone on the phone knows about it. And then also take your questions on this and talk a little bit about the link between There and Back Again and Goodbye Orchid. And so feel free, go ahead, keep the questions coming. I'll introduce you to the book. So here is Goodbye Orchid. It's actually won 2 book awards already and has been named one of the most anticipated fall reads by BuzzFeed, Parade, Brit & Company, Travel and Leisure, and more actually. Bookstore, Pop Sugar, there's been a lot of media around the story. And I think the reason it's resonating with people is because the heart of the story actually comes from being inspired by combat wounded veterans. So let me tell you a little bit about the story and then share a bit about how that link works. So I'm going to start by introducing you to the characters of Goodbye Orchid. First, here's Phoenix Walker. He's a 32-year-old entrepreneur. So he's not a military guy. I know sometimes when you hear inspired by combat wounded veterans, you think that maybe this is a military story. It's actually a story set in a world that I know, because actually, and I should maybe back up for a moment because I haven't fully introduced myself to the people on the line who don't know me. I'm a strategist from Mars Incorporated. I'm also a speaker and author, a mom of twins. I'm a climate reality leader, and I also serve on a board of directors for a nonprofit school. But this, cause of being this, idea of being inspired by combat wounded veterans was really coming to me at a time that was a hard time in my life, and the strength and resilience of these incredible men and women who fight for our freedom is really what inspired this story. But I set the story in a world that I know. So the world I know, I work in the world of business and marketing and strategy, and so that's why I've set the characters in that world as well. Phoenix Walker, as an entrepreneur and head of an ad agency, he's actually started his own ad agency, is very successful. When we meet him, he's, this way in which I describe the men and women who go to war to fight for our freedom, he's at the top of his game, incredibly successful at work, and he's actually also successful in other parts of his life. I'm going to share with you the other main character in just a moment. But the opening line is actually quite resonant. The opening line is, Phoenix Walker never believed today was goodbye. In chapter 1, Phoenix Walker is actually taking the woman he loves to the airport, and they're about to say goodbye, and it's supposed to only be for 6 weeks while she's on a business trip. She is beautiful, half Asian, Orchid Page, and when she leaves on this business trip, disaster strikes. And that's why the orchids on the cover of Goodbye Orchid are shattered, to really represent that emotional and physical shattering of the characters in their relationship. Because, after this disaster, when Phoenix wakes in the hospital, he is forever changed. And because he knows that Orchid has had trauma in her past and is therefore quite sensitive, he's faced with what he believes is the hardest decision of his life. Whether to protect Orchid, he might need to say, goodbye, Orchid. And his name is Phoenix, because in mythology, of course, phoenixes burn and then they rise from the ashes. And so, for Phoenix, and the arc of the story is about rising from ashes being quite hard, but then giving up the one you love being even harder. And so I was super proud that, Doc, when you read the book, you had come back and given me this quote, and you talked about being captivated by the storytelling, and that Phoenix Walker actually captured this mindset roller coaster and daily heroics of your experience. And you also told me that it gave you insight into maybe how some of your family members felt around you during this. Do you want to talk at all about your thoughts as you've been reading, and I know you were refreshing your memory last night, even rereading Goodbye Orchid?
So for Me and my rehab, especially with Phoenix, and I'm trying not to give any spoilers here, but I definitely related to Phoenix's character in the whole rehab process and the frustrations and not wanting family to be around and thinking that your life's over and there's no new life, and not accepting that. And I honestly had my dad and my grandma bedside with me for 3 months during my initial recovery, and so I had that same mindset of like trying to push them away and wanting a break, and then the frustrations of all the doctors and physical rehab and all the occupational therapists and psychologists and everybody, that all the different teams, and it was just so frustrating, and you wanted to be left alone. And but then when you're alone, you're trapped in your head, and you want to try and find your own way again. And so many
It's killing me that your phone is cutting out because I want to hear every word. Doc, are we losing you? Oh no, I was hanging on your every word. Your phone is cutting out.
Is it better?
Okay, yeah. So we got like 2/3 of that. Thank you for describing, really that you're relating to what Phoenix is going through, everything from pushing away family to feeling frustrated and worrying about what is there left in life to live for, and feeling like you want to be alone, but then when you are alone, being trapped inside your head, I think is what you described. So thank you for sharing so candidly. Did I miss anything?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess you're in a bad cell zone, and I'm cursing Verizon right now. I so wish we could hear you at this moment, but hopefully you'll join us again in a little bit when you're in a better cell zone. I do want to share this other quote as well. So I want to say there might be a half dozen or more combat wounded veterans or veterans who've really endorsed Goodbye Orchid for the messages in the pages, for the research that went into the book, and the authenticity with which the experiences are really relayed. This quote really touched me as well. So Sergeant Aaron Michael Grant, who came back from Iraq with PTSD and other issues that he talks about actually in his own book as well. He read Goodbye Orchid, and he said, in this most worthy novel, the protagonists' lives are shattered and they re-emerge champions, showing us a true test of character. Phoenix is all of us, unconquerable until we're conquered. A tale of sacrifice and rebirth. Heroism is in the details. And I love this because I think it captures, some of the deaths and the hardship that we were just talking about with Doc, but then also the rising from ashes and coming out the other side. And I so hope that, and I've actually heard from readers that rising from ashes actually sparks a lot of optimism and hope, that it both builds empathy as well as sparks optimism and hope. And please tell me that these pages are changing as I'm turning them on my screen. Okay, good. I'm still, I had one presentation where I got halfway through and no one told me that the pages weren't turning. So I'm still scarred from that experience. So one of the things Doc shared was that there are ways for you to be able to win his hardcover copy of his memoir, There and Back Again. Today, on today's call, actually, Doc and I are giving all of you a chance to win Goodbye Orchid or There and Back Again as an ebook. And with Goodbye Orchid, the ebook also comes with, there's a digital book club kit that's downloadable from my website, carolvandenhende.com/media/kit. And I'll give you an easy link so that you don't have to memorize that whole long thing. And there's also printable bookmarks there. So the way to have a chance to win these ebooks is I'm building an audience. I'm an author. This is my debut novel. And so I would love for you to sign up for my newsletter, follow me on Amazon, go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, my Goodreads, Twitter, BookBub, and even Pinterest. And definitely, you know, if you don't win, please buy a copy. There's ebook, there's paperback, there's hardcover. The easiest way, instead of giving you 100 links, is there's one link. All you have to do is remember linktr.ee/cvdh. This link tree looks like this purple page on the right-hand side. So when you go there, it will have links to all of these different places that you can follow me. And as you follow me, that will enter you into a raffle to have a chance to win an ebook copy of Goodbye Orchid. And then just also want to let you know, because Christmas is actually not that far away, or the holidays, or the winter holidays are not that far away, Hanukkah, Christmas. And so one of the debut author groups I'm in is putting together gift packages. And there's actually a lot of amazing debut author novels with gift packages. The Goodbye Orchid package happens to come with Dove chocolate because, as I mentioned, I've been working at Mars, and this is why Jody and I know each other for decades. I've been at Mars for decades, working in marketing and now strategy. And so I love our brands. I always joke, if you cut me, but please don't. But if you do cut me, I will bleed chocolate. And so in this case, the Goodbye Orchid gift kit comes with all the digital freebies we talked about, and either paperback or hardcover, personalized however you wish, beautifully gift wrapped, and also with Dove chocolate. And so feel free to contact me through the link tree and message me if you need any details around this. I'm really excited for this because, and actually I'm excited for this not because I'm trying to, you know, broaden my author brand, but actually because I really believe the book can do good in the world by deepening empathy, by inspiring hope and empathy, hope and optimism. But also a portion of the profits from Goodbye Orchid are going to two amazing organizations. One is Heather Abbott Foundation. She survived the Boston Marathon bombing, and she's since then really dedicated her life to helping people who can't afford prostheses. The second organization is USA Cares, which helps post 9/11 veterans and their families. And so two amazing organizations, and would love to just generate as much support as possible for those through Goodbye Orchid. And then I will just, you know, end with there are actually more events. So if anyone wants to learn more, tomorrow, in fact, at 12 noon, there's a group of us who are going to discuss the Goodbye Orchid in its entirety. Next Sunday, the 15th of November at 12 noon East Coast time, we're doing something similar. We're interviewing a different combat wounded veteran, Purple Heart decorated Sergeant Ryan Anderson, who's also has an incredible story to share. So we'll have a chance to spend time with him next weekend. So what questions do you have? I'm going to stop this sharing. I think that's it. Yes. You're back, Doc? We can hear you again? What did we miss?
Yeah,
I felt like we were in a gold mine there, and then I was so sad we couldn't hear you.
So I wanted to say also about the profits of my book as well. I know you announced yours, and I haven't announced mine publicly, but I donated in advance to two organizations as well. My organization, the Doc Jacobs Foundation, I donated in advance, and then I also donated to Achilles, International Achilles Freedom Team out of New York, which I spoke about in my book very highly because they helped me get out and kind of find purpose again and within athletics. And so I donated to them, and so portions of book have been donated to that as well. So thank you. Before I might jump ahead of myself here. But before I lose service, if I lose service again, I wanted to say that I have other projects that I'm working on, author projects, and I'm sure you as well. So do you mind sharing with what you have coming up in your world as an author?
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Doc. You're asking about other projects that are coming up. So November actually is NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. And I'm using that opportunity to work on both a prequel and a sequel for Goodbye Orchid. And it's been exciting to dive back into this world that I absolutely love. For me, Phoenix and Orchid are real people, and I love spending time with them and, you know, really helping to shape their stories in a way that I hope can, you know, actually achieve my mission, which I had described as inspiring hope and empathy. So what other questions do you guys have? Thank you so much. Yes, go ahead, Ronnie.
Carol, I'm curious about something. You're working on a prequel and a sequel now. What made you start with the middle book in the series?
So you know what it was? Goodbye Orchid has a really strong heart of a story. And then as it's actually the book club that I started a month ago now. We've been meeting every week to talk about parts of Goodbye Orchid. And as we've been talking about it, the readers are actually sharing with me the places where they are curious and where they want to learn more. And I realized that, you know, probably what I had just considered backstory and didn't decide to put into Goodbye Orchid actually has a lot of, you know, valuable insight that is definitely worth sharing. And so the idea of a prequel came about somewhat organically. And Bambi, Jody, you guys are on the phone right now. You're the ones I can happen to see right now, who are part of this book club, who have really inspired me, and Beth as well, to realize that there is a story before the story to be told. Thank you so much, Ronnie, for asking that question. Who else? Feel free to unmute and go ahead and share your questions. Well, Doc, if your phone is working, I can ask you one more question. And then I think we should next introduce Ronnie, because she is our next guest of honor to talk about her work. And so, Doc, one of the things I was really intrigued by was you talked about, you know, finding your purpose after coming back and, you know, retiring, and that actually sports helped you find your purpose. Do you feel that that's on the pages of There and Back Again, ways in which readers can find their own purpose? Will they have that inspiration from reading your memoir, Finding Purpose?
Yes. I think that's a really, really great question, and I've actually had a good amount of feedback from some readers about them finding purpose as well, and understanding some of what they've gone through, and not even just military, but anybody who's had a loved one that has gone through a tragedy. And so I think that that's great. And I mean, even though I'm done with my Major League Baseball tryouts and all of that, I think I'm again redefining my purpose. And I know, like, my foundation is great purpose, but I think writing is a newfound passion of mine, and I cannot get enough of it, really. I mean, most nights I write anywhere between 2 to 5 pages on different projects. And like my audience knows, I don't know if yours does, but I wrote a whole book throughout the pandemic since February to September, and it's currently with Kohler Books, and it's copyrighted material, and I'm really excited about it. And I don't want to give spoilers, but I'm working on some more stuff within that universe that I created there, like you with Goodbye Orchid. And so I think even though, like, I'm done with professional baseball, I'm not done defining my purpose and understanding that life moves on and we have to just move on with it. So I think within the pages of There and Back Again, I hope that people, the readers, can see themselves redefining purpose or even finding a purpose. So I think that that's a great question, and that's so I
Yeah,
think that that's in there.
that's a really deep answer too. It's almost like a lifelong pursuit for all of us, trying to find that.
Yeah.
We haven't, so does anyone else want to share or ask? We haven't heard from Gia, or I might be mispronouncing your name, especially since I don't have my reading glasses, to Carl. I know Bridget's at work, so I won't call on her. And Quentin, you had a very nice call out from Doc for all of your work. Was there anything you wanted to share, or David, or anyone? Bambi, Jody, Beth.
Hi, this is Dakari. Hi.
Thanks for correcting my pronunciation. Sorry about
No,
that.
no worries. Thank you, Carol, for hosting this. Definitely interested in reading your story. I don't have a question. Just you guys talk about purpose, and Doc, I don't have to tell you how inspirational you are to us and our group, and just sharing your transition with us through this book has been a tremendous bump for me, because I met Doc through Emerging Vets and Players, and just sharing some of our experiences, sharing our stories. It truly is a godsend to understand that someone who has gone through that type of trauma, and to have the resilience to come back and not only take on life but be able to document it in a memoir is a tremendous feat of resilience and courage. So shout out to you, man. Proud of you. If you needed to hear that today, I'm definitely proud to watch you do this thing, man. And I just can't stress how awesome it is to be in the room with you. So shout out to you, man. Keep up the great work, and you're truly an inspiration to all of us. So thank you, Doc.
Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate it, and I know I'll see you Wednesday night on our Zooms.
That was so beautifully said.
Yeah, and happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there on this call. I know Dakari, he's a excuse my language, badass veteran. Lee Hall's another one, and so I'm just really excited that they're on, and all the other veterans that I might not have been able to introduce. So thank you, Dakari.
Appreciate you, man. And I would be remiss if I didn't say go Army, beat Navy, fly Air Force.
Oh, man.
Have I been calling you David and I should be calling you Lee?
Yeah, this is actually my son's Zoom.
Oh, so sorry.
All right.
I just picked up on that. Only took me an hour to catch on. Sorry. Do you want to say anything, Lee?
I just partway through the book, and on Jacob's book here, but I look finishing that. Hopefully getting out to pick up a copy of your book as well.
Thanks, really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. I know we'll do lunch on Pendleton soon, brother.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Gia, Bambi, Jody, Beth, anyone else want to say anything? Q? All right, cool. So then I'm going to introduce you all to Ronnie Denholtz. And Ronnie and I go way back also. She and I are both fellow members of New Jersey Romance Writers. We both live in New Jersey. And she told me last night that she's been writing romance for 19 years. And then before that, writing other genres. So she's had an entire career in media and writing. And she has a whole new series coming out, a paranormal series called The Lightning Strikes, which just even that name is, feels somewhat fitting with the theme we've been talking about today, right? And so I'm thrilled to be able to introduce Ronnie. I know she wants to be able to spend time with everyone on her series as well. And I'm going to go on mute, let her take over. And then just so you know, I have to drop off a little earlier maybe than until I might not be able to stay for the full time for you, Ronnie. Sorry, because I have another Zoom right after this.
Okay, let me just say I'm on my husband's laptop because the camera on mine isn't working right, so I hope I do everything correctly. Doc, thank you so much for your service. I'm looking forward to reading your book, and I think it's wonderful that you found this new passion for writing. I mean, many of us just love to write, and it's not just a hobby, it's a calling. My dad was a World War II Army vet and told some interesting stories, and we used to like hearing them. And of course, he came back and took advantage of the GI Bill and went to college, and he became an engineer. So all his life, he was active in the Veterans of Foreign Wars. They had a local chapter in our town. So it meant a lot to him, and consequently to our family. So thank you again. I will just say a little bit about myself. As Carol mentioned, I have written a lot of different things. I wanted to write since I first read the Nancy Drew books. Like Doc, you were inspired by the Goosebumps books. I was inspired by Nancy Drew's. I wanted to write adventures, and later on, I came to love the romance genre and decided I wanted to write those. But when my children were little, my time for writing was limited. I did some writing before I had kids when I was a teacher. I wrote some children's books that were published by an educational publisher because I knew there was a need to have reading materials that was easy but interesting for kids who couldn't read on their grade level. So I wrote some mystery and adventure kind of books for kids that were easy to read. And then when I had my own kids, I did quite a bit of articles for local newspapers and magazines because they were short and I could do those working around naps and nursery school runs and that kind of thing. But I always loved romance, and I joined New Jersey Romance Writers back in 1989. I'm one of the long-term old members of that organization. And I learned that writing a romance was quite different than writing a short article for the local newspaper on a school event. So I had to go through my own education, learning how to write a full-length novel. I have 20 novels and novellas out. Novellas are just shorter, shorter books. And my new series is called the Lightning Strikes series. And this is the first book, Lightning Strikes. And it's a series about people who have been struck by lightning and developed paranormal abilities. There has been some research done on some people, not too extensive, but some people have been struck by lightning and developed ESP and other things. The first book is about Sabrina, the heroine, who can astral project, but her projections are sometimes happening at night when she doesn't want them to, and they're disrupting her sleep and her life. So she turns to a facility called the Lightning Center, which was started by Dr. Parker Costigan, who himself was struck by lightning with his twin. And they research and counsel people struck by lightning who have developed all kinds of abilities, ESP, seeing auras, etc. So this is the first book in this series, Lightning Strikes. And there are two other books, Lightning Strikes Again, which is about Parker's sister, Meredith, and a meteorologist who studies lightning. And Lightning Strikes Twice, which is about Parker's twin sister, Pamela. And she's a psychiatrist, and another psychiatrist once broke her heart, but now they have, and he's questioning the mission of the Lightning Center and what they do there. And she's trying to prove that, it's a genuine facility and they do a lot of good, and they reunite in this book. I also have another book that just came out recently. This is a novella. It's a holiday Thanksgiving into Christmas novella called Meet Me at the End. It's not paranormal at all. It's just a fun holiday story. People ask me how I wrote the book so quickly, and the truth is I didn't. The Lightning Strike series I wrote over 6 years, but I'm just putting them out now in quick succession. And the novella I wrote at the beginning of this year. Mostly through a program we have in New Jersey romance writers called Jersey Romance Writing Month, which I think is a lot better than NaNoWriMo because it's 30,000 words instead of 50,000, which is more doable. And it's also in February. Let's face it, November and December, it's hard to write because of the holidays, especially if you have a family. So that is a little bit about me and excuse me, I have allergies, and about my books. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions? Okay, I don't, let's see. I don't see any questions on the chat, but like Carol, I don't have great eyesight, so. Oh, somebody said congratulations on your work. Thank you. I'm sure Carol will agree and Doc will agree. It's very satisfying when you actually see your book and you can hold it in your hands. That's very, very thrilling.
We actually have, oh, is it available on Amazon is a question.
Yes, it's available on Amazon. All my books are available either as ebooks or in print. Even my oldest books, the ones that came out almost 20 years ago, are available on Amazon. You can also get it on Barnes & Noble and also on Apple if you like to read on your phone. I don't. I think it would be incredibly hard if you don't have great eyesight. But yeah, all the books are available in all the retail locations.
It sounds really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing, Ronnie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. We have one other author on the phone. Now, Bridget, you're at work, so feel free to say no, but if you wanted to share a little bit about your children's books, you're very welcome to. And then Bambi's asking, you've been writing for many years, what's the most rewarding part of it to you, Ronnie?
Oh, well, it's very rewarding to see your book in print, but some of the articles I've done have actually been very rewarding. One of my most memorable articles was about a little girl with Down syndrome who was doing competitive dancing with her two older sisters. And it started as an article about the little girl. Her name is Seton. But as I interviewed the mother and the family, I realized that the sisters were really important to her story because they worked so hard to get Seton to learn the dance routines, and they were patient and they kept going over and over and over the routines till she really had them down. And it ended up being an article not just about Seton, but about her sisters and how they loved her and were loyal and had the time and made the time to work with their sister to so that she could achieve something really significant. Can everybody hear me? Carol, am I still on?
Yeah, that was a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing. That means a lot to me. You know, I'm on the board of directors for a school for special needs kids. So, and actually, you know, Goodbye Orchid deals with disability. And so that's really meaningful to me. Thank you so much.
One of my children's books is about a boy who is in a wheelchair. And I did a lot of research on wheelchair basketball for that book because I thought that was fascinating. And at the time we didn't have the internet, so I actually had to write to a wheelchair basketball association, and they sent me materials. And it was a lot of fun, but also a lot of work to write that story. And I called it Mystery at the Gym. And I got a lot of good feedback on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting you talk about the work that's in writing because there is so much that goes into the word choice and the story arc and building the characters, and so much time. You talk about 6 years for your Lightning Strikes series. And so I don't think everybody knows that. And sometimes I find a lot of readers just ask authors for free books because they just think, well, authors write because they love it. And we do, but there is a lot of work. And we also, hope that we can, get fair compensation, I guess, for our work. And then in my case, I hope that I can raise money for some good causes. Bambi wrote something really nice to you, Ronnie. She says that's a beautiful story, that there's such love between sisters like that. And it's true. There's something special about
Yes.
siblings.
It was very special, and I am still in touch with their mother.
Oh, wow.
So, we got together again on Facebook, and I sometimes see her in the grocery, and it's been very rewarding, and her family was thrilled with the final article.
Yeah.
But writers do a lot of research, even if you're doing fiction. I had a heroine in one book who was a meteorologist, and I did a lot of research on meteorology and the weather. And that was very interesting because I love the Weather Channel.
Okay, cool. So I had asked Bridget if she wanted to say anything, but she's at work and she's a detective. So I'm guessing not, but she did share with me while we were getting set up that she writes children's books. She also has a lot going on in her life, but I think her work sounds really interesting because it's about female empowerment for young girls. So who couldn't use more of that? And I'm looking forward to learning more about her work. All right, well, I'm going to drop off because actually I have a reading to do in a little bit. If you guys want to stay on, you are more than welcome to. Ronnie, if you want to chat with everyone, you're more than welcome to, but I am going to have to go. And I hope that everybody else doesn't drop off when I have to go. But before I go, I do want to just express such sincere thank you for everyone for their time, for being here today. And absolutely want to echo Doc's words. Just, thank you for everyone's service who is in the military here. Lee, Q, Doc, you guys are incredible. And even as a writer, I don't feel like I can put into words the gratitude and the respect and the gravitas, the weight that holds for me, that you are willing to go to the most dangerous places in the world to fight for our freedom. It is, I just cannot even put it into words. So thank you is just so inadequate for how I actually feel. So happy Veterans Day, everyone.
Do you send book sales to a company that takes most of your money? Want to earn more money from your book sales? Do you want a bookstore that supports you? Introducing a new bookstore for indie authors and small press, B4R.store. Earn up to 80% of your book sales and learn how to market yourself. B4R.store. Join us for the 6th Annual Authors Marketing Event in Granbury, Texas on July 23rd to the 25th, 2021, where authors share ideas and learn from the professionals over a 2-day weekend. Receive your book marketing certification from the only organization in the world that has been doing it for 5 years, Authors Marketing Guild, a membership-based organization that supports authors from around the world. Learn more at ame.authorsmarketingguild.com. Sponsored by IndieLector.store, a bookstore that pays authors their fair share. Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.